Welcome to another episode of the Superchain Explainer Series by Token Trails. Today, we're diving deep into interoperability within the Optimism superchain, what it means, how it works, and why it really matters.
Yeah, it's a big topic. Glad we're digging in.
And hey, if you're enjoying this series, make sure to like and subscribe over on YouTube, and don't forget to follow us on Spotify for more Web3 insights.
Definitely helps us keep these going.
All right, let's get into it. So, we all know Ethereum, it's amazing, but back in the day, and sometimes still now, it hit limitations, right? Transaction capacity, fees getting high.
Absolutely. Congestion was a real issue. And that's where layer 2 rollups came in, basically as a scaling solution. Faster, cheaper transactions, but off the main chain.
Exactly. Think of them like adding extra express lanes to a busy highway. Definitely helps traffic flow.
Yeah, good analogy.
Hmm.
But the thing was, initially, these express lanes were kind of separate, weren't they? They didn't really connect to each other easily.
Right. So say you had your crypto, your assets on one L2, maybe base, and you wanted to use a cool app running on, I don't know, Zora, another OP chain. It wasn't simple.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
You often had to, exit the express lane, go back onto the main Ethereum highway, the L1, and then get onto the other express lane.
Which sounds inefficient.
It totally was. Time-consuming. You pay gas fees on L1 for the bridging. It added friction back into the system. It's not very user-friendly,
Yeah, it created this fragmented feeling. Your stuff is kind of scattered across these different L2s, and moving between them is a bit of a chore. The ecosystem felt less whole.
Mm-hmm. And that's precisely the problem the Optimism superchain aims to solve. It's this vision, this idea of connecting all these L2s that are built using the same toolkit, the OP stack.
So instead of separate lanes, it's more like an interconnected network of lanes designed to work together.
Exactly, making them function, ideally, like one big cohesive system. And the absolute key to making that happen is what we're talking about today, interoperability within the superchain.
Okay, so interoperability, that's the magic ingredient. Without it, we're basically back to square one with those isolated L2 problems.
Pretty much, yeah. You'd still have the hassle of moving things between chains,
Yeah.
even if they're all built on the OP stack. The superchain's promise relies heavily on this internal communication being smooth.
Right. So let's unpack that a bit more. Why is this internal interoperability so crucial? I mean, the L2s themselves are already faster and cheaper than L1, aren't they?
They are, for transactions on that specific L2. But think about moving value or data between them. Without native interoperability, you'd still be stuck using those older methods.
Meaning back to L1 bridging or relying on third-party bridges.
Exactly. And those methods, like we said, introduce delays, sometimes significant ones, and extra costs. It kind of undermines the whole point of using L2s for speed and low fees if you constantly hit these roadblocks when moving between them.
Okay. So the superchain wants to eliminate that friction. It wants to provide, what did you call it? Native cross-chain communication.
Yeah, native is the key word there. It means communication built into the very fabric of the superchain system, using the shared properties of the OP stack.
So sticking with the highway analogy, it's less about merging back onto the main road and more like building direct flyover ramps between the express lanes.
That's a great way to put it, direct connections. And the reason this is possible, the core mechanism really, is the shared foundation of the OP stack.
Shared foundation, meaning?
Meaning all these OP chains use compatible technology, standardized communication protocols, and importantly, they can leverage shared security mechanisms derived from Ethereum. Think of it like everyone speaking the same language and following the same traffic laws.
Okay. So that common language allows messages, transactions, data to be understood and passed between these chains much more efficiently without needing a slow external translator like a traditional bridge.
Precisely. The verification and relaying of information across chains becomes much more streamlined and, crucially, trust minimized because they're all part of this cohesive architecture.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not just having lots of L2s, it's having L2s designed to cooperate from the get-go. So for me, the user, what does this actually look like? What's the practical difference?
Well, the promise is significantly faster and cheaper movement of your assets across the entire superchain, and also smoother interactions with applications. Imagine like a DeFi protocol, where maybe the trading engine is on one OP chain optimized for speed, but your yield farming happens on another optimized for cost. With seamless interoperability, those parts could talk to each other instantly behind the scenes. For you, it would just feel like one single unified application, even if it's actually running across multiple chains.
Okay, that sounds pretty powerful. A much more seamless experience. So the big takeaway then is The superchain isn't just Optimism plus a bunch of other chains using its tech. The real value proposition is this built-in native interoperability.
Absolutely. That interconnectedness is designed to solve the fragmentation problem we saw with early L2s.
Yeah.
It's about creating a whole that's, greater than the sum of its parts.
And this potential for seamless interaction, it could unlock new things, right? Applications that maybe just aren't practical today because moving data between L2s is too clunky or expensive.
Exactly. Think about complex workflows, cross-chain governance, maybe even things like games where assets or state need to move frictionlessly between different specialized chains within the superchain. The possibilities are really exciting.
Interesting. So a final thought for everyone listening. As you look at how Ethereum is scaling, really consider what this enhanced native interoperability within the Optimism superchain enables. It's not just faster lanes, it's connected lanes. What new kinds of experiences or applications could this unlock for you? Definitely something to keep an eye on.
For sure. It's a key part of the vision for a more scalable and usable Ethereum ecosystem.